got to go for Usyk or nothing, in my idea. It's Usyk next or nothing.
Yeah.
I won't bother with the rest of them.
But John, didn't
Tyson's class.
Didn't Tyson say, though, there were 5 fights that he was going to take? He was going to deal with Wilder.
Yeah.
And obviously the Joshua situation has changed now. He was going to deal with him.
Yeah.
And I think Dillian was one of them as well, wasn't it? And then he was going to give Derek Chisora a payday, and off he went.
I'll answer the question in one. Would Dillian Whyte deal with Deontay Wilder?
No.
No. So why do you want to put him in my son and get him knocked out?
Because in fairness, John, that kid's waited for a shot at a title for 3 or 4 years now, hasn't he?
Well, at the end of the day, he just got knocked out by a 42-year-old man.
Yeah, Povetkin, I know.
Slap the back of his hand.
Yeah, I know.
Tyson can't get up for them kind of fights.
No, that's what my thought was, John. Does he get up for that fight?
He wouldn't be able to raise his game for that fight because he's not big enough. And he goes in there with a lackluster attitude. You don't see the best of Tyson. You only see the best of Tyson when he's up against the best. A challenge like he had, and he's in a great fight. For me, I've told him, Usyk or don't bother.
I mean, at the end of the day, Joshua will do what he's got to do, the same as Tyson will do what he's got to do. And everybody's, Tyson, it wouldn't surprise me if Tyson said tomorrow that, I've had enough. I don't fancy it. I don't fancy fighting anymore. Because if he does, he's wealthy, he's made a lot of money. He's got to do what's right for him. Boxing's been his saviour, and he says that.
Yeah, but what's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. Wow. So we just heard there from Big John, Fury, and Frank, Beady Eyes, Warren. And, man, this for me reminds me a bit of, or similar, it's analogous to, in a way, to the Deontay Wilder post-fight debacle situation, in as much as when Deontay Wilder refused to shake Tyson Fury's hand, that spoiled, not all of it, of course the fight was still a great fight, but it spoiled it to some level. Now, this whole narrative, and it seems to be a narrative we always end up hearing after a Fury fight. Oh, he's going to retire. Oh, he don't want to fight no one else. And I said before, or I said after the fight, I give Fury all of his props, but I also said, if Fury somehow, some way, doesn't end up fighting the top guys in the division, Dillian or whoever else, I understand, listen, many people have told me, Dillian Whyte, and even myself to be fair, in the past, I thought Dillian Whyte would beat Fury. Now though, I don't see it. And I think this fight's an easy fight. So I don't understand. People want to hold Tyson. I think Tyson has the ability to potentially go down as an all-time great, if that makes sense, and be up in the ranks. I told you before, if Tyson Fury ends up stopping Usyk, stopping Dillian Whyte, stopping AJ, it's going to be hard to say he's not top 5 or potentially even higher, if that makes sense. But you've got to have done that. It's no good saying, John Fury, we've beat the number 2 guy, who's the number 2 guy by miles in Wilder, so we don't need to carry on and get the numbers under our belt. That's not good enough, I'm afraid. Now, for some people it is. Some people say, Wilder was clearly the number 2 guy. Me personally, I don't think it's possible to say that. Wilder has no skills. He has tons of heart, but he has no skills whatsoever. None. So to sit there and say that Wilder is obviously the second best guy, so far, I'll give you credit, so far, in terms of heart, I'd say Wilder, yeah, he's up there. He's shown more heart than Usyk, AJ, and even Dillian Whyte to an extent. But having a whole load of heart and no skills, we saw what happened. Wilder was just getting picked apart from everything. After the second round, Wilder did really nothing, did he? Apart from swing the big right hand. And you know me, I've never really given Wilder that much credit for his right hand. Who's he really beaten with it? Apart from old Ortiz, who, by the way, is an unquantified talent, if that makes sense. People rant and rave about how great Ortiz is, but how great really was Ortiz. That's the only top guy he's knocked out with his right hand. And I've mentioned it before, but look at the first time he fought a world champion in Bermane Stiverne, Wilder, his magic right hand didn't work. Yeah, he couldn't knock out Bermane Stiverne the first time. Oops. And he was hitting Bermane Stiverne with it the whole night. Oops. Yeah? So the trend really, when you look at the facts are, every time Deontay Wilder fought a world champion, Bermane Stiverne, Tyson Fury, he came unstuck. Couldn't get his right hand off. Now, maybe in a few years' time, let's say Deontay Wilder fights Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder fights Andy Ruiz, Deontay Wilder fights Joe Joyce. Well, I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying a few of them. And it ends up being that, YB, he iced Dillian, he iced Joe Joyce. Then we can have another conversation. But for me to sit here, for John Fury and for other people to say that, it's all Tyson Fury can't get up for Dillian Whyte and whatever else. I think it's a farce to say that, to be quite frank. Because Wilder he ain't that good. He's not great enough for me to sit here and say, for example, let's say Tyson Fury, had just done what he's done to a Holyfield or a Lennox Lewis. You know what I mean? Where you could clearly say, that guy's obviously the number 2 in the division. Then maybe, but even then, to be honest, greatness has never really been about beating one man 3 times, has it? To be quite frank. Yeah, he beat Klitschko, but even then, part of the reason why most people didn't like Tyson Fury or his style of boxing was because it was boring. So I don't even really judge that old part of Fury's career, that Peter Fury, Ben Davidson style, because it was crap. This new style, it's almost like his new career. Yeah? And he's scoring knockouts. So on that basis, in this said new career, who has he really ran through? Okay, Wilder. We got that. We got that twice. But to then sit there and say, he can't get up for Dillian Whyte. What do you mean you can't get up for Dillian Whyte? Are you telling me you can't get up for knocking another man out? Because that sounds to me like a birthday party, in my mind. If I believe I'm good enough, if I believe I've just ran through the number 2 guy by miles, why not quickly have a quick go on Dillian, have a quick go on AJ, have a quick go on Usyk? You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. Fury should be there was a time, that I said that AJ should look at the division as a bunch of bums pointing in the air, and he's just gonna go around in a big. There was a time I said, that AJ AJ was the man who looks at the division and all he sees is a bunch of bums pointing sky in the air in a big circle, and he just goes around, has a go on that one, has a go one of them ones, has a go on every one. Anyone he wants to have a go on, he has a go on. That is no longer the case. However, from John Fury's point of view, he believes that. He believes his son just had a go on the number 2 Don in Wilder. And have a go, did he? 100%. He had a go, alright. No doubt. He rode the Zulu out of Deontay Wilder, that's a fact. There's no Zulu left. Fury rode it out of him. It's hard to say, but it is what it is. That's on you, man. You, man, talked it up. Oh, Wilder, he this, he that. He got rode. Bottom line. So if, again, from Tyson Fury and from John Fury's point of view, if they believe Wilder is really that great, and he really is the number 2 guy by miles, which I don't know at this point, bearing in mind the things I've said in the past, for me to sit here and tell you, I don't know what, I'm not sure what's what anymore, so I'm just going to sit here and observe. So if John Fury and Tyson Fury are correct, then what's the problem having a quick go on Dillian? Bear in mind, Dillian Povetkin. This whole notion of, he can't get up for it. Well, that's your job, to get up for it. Oh, well, maybe it's not his job. He's made loads of money anyway. Maybe he doesn't want to do that. I don't know, man. It just feels to me like there's got to be one throwback fighter in this division, hasn't there? Well, you'd hope so. And for a long time, the cliché's been, Tyson Fury just loves to have a scrap. Well, that's contradictory. You can't say, we love to have a scrap and we're born to have a scrap. And now it turns out that not only do you get to have a scrap, but you get to have a scrap against the perceived best people, which you think are easy, and get paid millions of dollars for it, and get loads of prestige for it. So which is it? Do you enjoy having a scrap for free, and therefore you should have no problem having a go on Dillian, having a go on AJ for tens of millions? Or do you not enjoy having a scrap? You can't have both. You can't say both. You can't say, well, I'd fight in on the cobbles for free, but then the opportunity to get loads of clout and get loads of fame and get loads of money and whatever else, loads of respect, and solidify your status in the history of the sport. All them accolades are available. All of a sudden, you ain't interested. That make no sense to me. That don't, Because in my mind, I'd just tell Tyson, listen, just pretend you're doing it for free then, innit? If you're not interested in all the accolades, just pretend you're doing it for free on the cobbles, which you said you'd be doing anyway. And I think this will be, I've always said, no one gets everything in life. Yeah? Clearly, for example, AJ may have been gifted some athletic attributes, but his side of things is the mental side. He's clearly got mental challenges, bottom line. Whether it's loyalty, whether it's shookness, whatever way you want to cut it, AJ has mental issues. That's a fact. Anyone who tells you any different is lying to themselves. Yeah, that's clearly obvious now. He got popped in the mouth and he still couldn't pull the trigger. He still couldn't flick the switch. Bottom line, there's an issue with that. So that's his problems. Maybe Tyson Fury's issues are this. Maybe we're going to find out. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that this new... Because the thing is about the whole croc mentality. The croc mentality isn't just performance in the ring. These great trainers, from what I've heard, they're supposed to put your mind in a different, or they're meant to, what's the word I'm looking for? Essentially, Fury should be motivated to have a goal in the whole division. Yeah? He should be motivated to run for everyone, because why not at this point? And great trainers not only can get the best performances out of their athletes, you'd like to think they can also get their athletes up for any given fight, if that makes sense. I mean, the great example is when Vlad was in there with Manny Stewart, and I can't remember who it was, but Vlad was fighting someone, and Manny Stewart said, "Get this guy out of there." As if to say, this guy ain't good enough. Well, what are we doing hanging around with this dude in the 8th round or whatever it was? So with that concept in mind, Sugar Hill should be able to, if he's really is great, or if he is a great, should be able to get in Tyson's mind and get him rock hard, get his lipstick out for the rest of the division. Because I'm not being funny, this isn't where, White he's got a whole load, there's like 20 man and it's all too overwhelming. There's really only 3 or 4 fights left anyway, with a few rematches maybe. In reality, Fury's 31? 4 years from now, at 35, he's going to be done. And then he can relax for the next 50 years of his life. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'd be saying. If I was training Fury, I'd be telling him, listen, bottom line is, we've got 4 or 5 years of hard graft left. And really, it's not even that much hard graft. You've got AJ, who may or may not turn up, and will just flap. Yeah? So you're going to get paid 30-40 million for a dude who's flapping. Yeah? You're going to get paid 30-40 million to run through a dude whose back end's flapping. That's not exactly hard work. We've already seen a cruiserweight do it, so you know what I'm saying? Just think about it. If AJ doesn't pull his finger out his backside, which, by the way, the odds are he ain't going to do it, people. I hate to break it, it's the facts. If he proves me wrong, I'll say fair play, but the facts are AJ ain't going to pull it off. Because if he was going to pull it off, Rob McCracken would be sacked, and he'd have been making changes, but all I've seen in leaked videos is him fanning around with Fernando Alonso. Yeah? All fanning, we're doing all these skills and all this kind of stuff. So he ain't making no changes. He's doubling down, which is what I said. Team AJ, you've heard, I've exposed a video. Team AJ came out and said, Eddie Hearn said, we keep getting trainers reaching out and offering help. We don't want no effing help. We've got it all under control, so be it. Yeah? So there's one fight. There's one guy you know who's going to flap and not turn up. We can bet your bottom dollar AJ ain't going to turn up. Because if he can turn up, he'd have turned up against a cruiserweight. Bottom line. Yeah? Then you got Dillian. Mr. Can he hold a shot? We don't know. Bottom line, people. Hey, and this is to me, I'm being honest. I'm never going to lie to you. This is the problem, you see. People got confused. YB, he's an AJ rider. I was just being honest. I thought AJ had more than that. He don't. And in fact, I've seen he don't. What do you want me to do? Lie to you? YB, you're a turncoat. Turncoat? You want me to sit here and tell you that he got something that he clearly don't? Or he clearly isn't showing? Now, if he shows something magical in the rematch, I'll give him credit and I'll say, as I've been doing. But this ain't no shilting. I'm going to ride something that ain't there. And with that in mind, like I was saying, with Dillian, Mr. Chin, Mr. can he hold a shot? Bottom line, people, Povetkin isn't known as a one-banger. He's not a Mike Tyson. And he was finished. And he was 40 years old. And he was knackered at the time. And he flicked, what was it, one left uppercut or something. And Dillian Whyte went spark out. So, can Dillian Whyte hold a shot from Fury? Who knows? Because, yeah, we can laugh at Fury. Yeah, Fury ain't a one punch artist, but guess what? neither's Povetkin. Neither's shot Vetkin at 40 years old. And if I was to bet who's got more power, a prime Fury as such, a prime Croc Fury, or a 40-year-old shot to bits knackered Povetkin, I'm going with Fury, I'm afraid to say, at this point. So there's Dillian. There's two guys down. So you've got AJ under control. You've got Dillian Whyte under control. Who else you got? Usyk, a cruiserweight. Wow. So again, for John Fury to sit there and say he can't get up for it, get up for it, because there's not a lot. You know what I mean? There's not a lot to be getting up for. Now I guess they could argue, well, YB, that's exactly why you can't get up, because there's not many challenges out there. But I'll put to you that if you can put Wilder on a pedestal, then you should be able to put all of these others on a pedestal, because the point is, Wilder is as limited in other ways as the rest of them, if that makes sense. In my opinion, the current heavyweight division, they're all about the same. Yeah, you got Dillian Whyte, can he hold a shot? AJ, is his back end gonna flap? Usyk is a cruiserweight. Everyone's got their Achilles heel. From Fury's point of view, Fury at the moment is looking like the most complete fighter when you put it all together. Bottom line, right now, as of 18th of October, Tyson Fury is the most complete heavyweight fighter. That's a fact. We can sit here and talk ifs. The AJ fans would love me to sit here and talk ifs. Oh, YB, if he fights like he did 6 years ago. We can't do that, people, I'm afraid to say. Can't do it. For too long you've been to play, and myself included, for too long you've been living in 2016. Yeah, and I told you before, if my nan had a schlong, she'd be my granddad. That's the game AJ fans have to play. Oh, if this, if that, if he gets with this, if he changes that. Not happening. Or better yet, we'll start talking about the ifs when AJ starts doing them, yeah? How about that? When he makes changes, then we can start talking. I'm not doing this, oh, we'll just start talking for the sake of it. Oh, but YB, tell us what might happen if you know what I'm saying? Tell us what might happen if your nan grows a schlong. No, we're not doing that. So from Fury's point of view, Sugar's Hill needs to get him on this thing. And the next 4 or 5 years, just get on with it. Bottom line. Treat it like a chore. I'm not being funny, but it's an exciting chore, is it not? And like I said at the start of the video, this for me is just a bit of a shame that don't ruin this momentum with this talk of retirement, with this talk of can't get up, with this talk about, oh, we're going to sit around for a year. Like Eddie Hearn said, every time Fury has time off, he says, oh, I want to be more active. Well, just be more active. It's a choice, bottom line. You chose to sit around and wait. You chose to have to take ages in court with Wilder. There's no reason whatsoever that court thing should have happened. This fight could have happened last year. We could have had Fury and AJ already. And Fury would be undisputed now. Bottom line. So, the next 4 or 5 years, march on. And the same with Frank Warren. Frank Warren, you got John Fury talking about we want to sit around until Usyk, which is going to be another year. And then you got Frank Warren talking about retirement. It's just, there should be no, I guess it's not, to be fair, it's not Fury saying these things, but it doesn't sound good when the people closest to you are singing off the same hymn sheet. We know Team Fury in the past have had a habit of doing this, saying similar things. Remember before the AJ undisputed fight, the narrative was John Fury, Tyson Fury and Frank Warren, they're all saying, oh, it's not going to happen. So me personally, I don't want to see another one of them ones. Oh, he's going to retire. Oh, we don't want to fight for a year until Usyk's ready, undisputed. Just treat it like a glorified training session, if nothing else. And Sugar Hill, that's your job, to get him up for it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not being funny, man. It's a 30-minute fight once every 6 months. If you can't get yourself up for a 30-minute fight where you're going to earn millions of dollars and God knows what else, all the other things that come with it, that's a shame. And like I said before, that will say a lot about your legacy. If you sit around and you don't fight this guy and don't fight that guy, all it's going to do is hurt your legacy. And for what? You're going to hurt your place in history to save yourself 30 minutes of work. Don't make no sense to me. Don't make no sense. And again, we haven't heard from Fury himself, but the fact that it's coming from people, the fact this is the notions that are being wheeled out from people closest to him, it's not a good look. It's not like we've heard from anyone yet, oh, he's raring to go and he can't wait to hop on. Yeah, he can't wait to have a go on Dillian. And don't forget, people, before this fight, Fury was saying, yep, I'm going to fight. Obviously, I wasn't expecting this to be exactly real, but in principle, yep, I'm going to do Dillian in December. In my mind, I was thinking, well, obviously, he ain't going to do Dillian in December, but maybe Dillian in February, March. Why not? So, that's what needs to happen right now. Yeah? Get that consistency down, and who knows? Because that Fury versus Wilder 3 performance from Fury, it wasn't the most refined, and I believe part of the reason is a function of the time out of the ring. No one should be out of the ring for 2 years. And I'm not being funny, but he was never that active before. It was 2 years layoff after a year fighting. You know what I mean? 2 years layoff after fighting once a year. That's not good for no one. And in my mind, you're only going to get better, and therefore differentiate yourself more from your peers, and therefore be perceived greater the more active you are. If you're in there with Dillian and then 6 months later someone else, that's how you get momentum. That's how you get to put on more outrageous performances. And honestly, at this point, there's no reason Fury can't, I don't believe. There's no reason Fury can't, at this point, stop the lot of them. Truth be known. Because, again, if AJ doesn't pull his finger at his backside, Fury would have stopped AJ on that night against Usyk. And for all we know, AJ is going to deteriorate. He might get even more scary. Yeah? Bottom line, isn't it? He might get even more vulnerable. Because if you're vulnerable in front of a man who's half your size in Usyk, I can't believe you're going to be rock hard for it in someone bigger than you. And we've already seen with Wilder how much them extra 30 pounds, 35 pounds that Fury carries, how much they can make. So, like I said, there's no reason Fury in 5 years from now can't look back at his career and say, I stopped a lot of them. Wilder, Dillian, Usyk, AJ. Joyce, we'll find out. But, you know, there's no reason. That should be, in my opinion, that should be Team Fury's goal right now. If you can't get yourself up just to fight the people, get yourself up to go on a massive run and stop a lot of them and be one of the first heavyweight champions to have stopped every single, you know what I mean? Because Lennox Lewis, I know there's levels, but Lennox Lewis, I don't believe, stopped Holyfield as an example. And I'm pretty sure no one's ever stopped a lot of them. And that could be your legacy, to have stopped every single person you fought as such. I know you didn't stop Vlad, but in this new half of your career, that should be the goal right now, no doubt. No retirement, no fanning around.